There he is. There he is, right alongside that. As soon as I started paralleling, right off the bat. There we go. Oh, not a big one, but a little one. Not a big one, but a little one. Folks, today we're at Bartlett Lake. I just got here. We're gonna throw a buzzbait. First thing in the morning. It's a beautiful morning. We're right there in September, mid-September right now, where the mornings are still cool, so it gives us a chance to get out and do a little fun fishing here at Bartlett Lake. This lake's got a lot of fish in it. Got him. He came right out of that brush. Right out of that brush. Oh my goodness, come on, buddy. Little Buzzbait bass here at Bartlett Lake. A lot of times if you see the sparse stuff like this, you can catch him out of that. Man, he's warmer than the air is. Wow. Hang in there, little feller. I'll let you go back. He's a skinny little guy. You know, a lot of times what I'm doing is jumping around from pocket to pocket trying to find some areas where the fish might hang out or something. But what's really cool about this spot is we have some sparse vegetation right in here. So we're tossing to the backs of these cuts where the vegetation is. Those fish will hide in that vegetation, come out and ambush their prey. But with that single little pile there, I thought I'd throw right through it. What makes the buzzbait so fun is you can bring it right through that stuff, right over the top of it. And they're hiding right in it and they'll just come right out and bust in it. This kind of fishing's a lot of fun to do, but you gotta cover a lot of water sometimes. You'll find pockets where you'll find fish, and then you'll go for a while and maybe not catch a fish or two, but try to duplicate what you catch your fish on. So I like the sparse vegetation stuff there, so we'll try to keep duplicating that type of stuff to catch them. Now, what I like to try to do with my buzzbait, and a lot of people ask me how fast do you reel it, I try to slow it down as slow as I can go to keep it on top of the water. But in saying that, once in a while, you can be bringing it across and then pick up the pace a little bit. And usually when you're bringing it slow, and then you pick up the pace a little bit, the fish jump right on top of it if they're following it. So sometimes speeding it up, slowing it down works pretty good. But I try to keep the bait as slow as possible on top, unless I know they're really chasing it fast. That's something you just have to play with a little bit to see what they want. That and the noise of your buzzbait. You know, a lot of times different buzzbaits make different noises. Sometimes they don't want a real loud clacking noise. Sometimes they want more of a whoosh, you know. The bait I'm throwing today has a little tiny blade on it. It's made by Persuader. It's an awesome bait. It's got a little clack, what I call the clacker on it. And as it's coming through the water, you can hear it. But I'm wanting that because if you get a little bit of wind or something like that, it works really good. I gotta throw right out here before we go over top of it. Hey folks, one of the reasons I love putting the grub on the end of the buzzbait, in all honesty, is because I like to be able to get a longer cast, and number two, that makes it a little heavier, makes it more buoyant, so when you're actually bringing it across the top of the water, it brings it up a lot quicker. And the other reason why is they strike it a lot better. I don't have to go so much with a trailer hook all the time. That grub tail seems to get the big reaction bite out of them and they smash it. That's the reason why I like the grub. So without a doubt, don't be afraid to throw a grub. You'll get a lot longer cast, because in the wind a lot of times these blades will catch the wind and you won't get the long cast that you need. So that really helps a bunch. Remember that. Oh, there's one. What in the world? That's a little guy. He came up and smacked it. You're gonna catch a lot of these little fellers, but it sure is still a lot of fun here at Bartlett. You know, one of the reasons, there's a lot going on with what we're throwing today. And let me explain to you. A lot of guys will throw white, you know, white buzzbaits. I went with a black and chartreuse because this time of year, especially when you're playing back here in these grass patches, those little fry that the bluegill, when they spawn in the spring, those little dudes are probably about an inch long now. And what they do is they like to get back up into the grass and into these little rocks and stuff like that. And a lot of times I'm thinking some of those bigger fish like to get up there and eat those bluegill. So I'm kind of trying to copy that with the chartreuse tail and the darker bait. But if you see the fish actually busting shad and doing all that stuff on the surface, a lot of times they're chasing the shad, then you can switch over to the white, then you know you're on a shad pattern. But a lot of times when I like to fish back in the, you know, cuts where there's a lot of flooded brush, things like that, that's when I'm gonna throw this color. And I like that because, like I said, the bluegill get up in there, hide, and the big bass will get in there and eat them when they're ready to feed. So that's one of the reasons I'm throwing that. It's a great bait. And like I said, with that little clacker on there with a little bit of breeze blowing, it really does have a good little knock to it. And it sounds good in the water anyway. Sometimes they don't want that, but boy, I'll tell you, you just never know. You gotta bring out a handful of different kinds of buzz baits for sure, in different colors, and give them a try. There's one. That feels pretty good. That one feels pretty good. Get off on them bluffs a little bit. Get down there a little deeper. Oh, that's not a bad fish. Oh, he came off. You know, what we did was we came out more towards the dam area. That topwater bite really hasn't started yet this morning like I thought it would really be going. But the one thing cool about, say, the topwater or the buzzbait, a lot of times if they're not going in the morning, you always check in the afternoon. And the reason why I say that is once you start seeing the dragonflies flying across the water and things like that and coming up, and you see a little bit more activity, then you can probably catch some doing that. But what I decided to do was get out a little deeper, fish the dam area here, and just throw a drop shot down on some of this cliff wall stuff, see if we can get bit. It's pretty slow, so what I like to do is get off where it's a little bit deeper, find those shelves, and get out here and catch some fish. We just had one on, maybe we can get another one. That was a decent little fish right there. Caught me unexpectedly as soon as I dropped. That was the first drop as soon as we pulled in here. I like fishing this area a lot of times when the fishing's really tough. A lot of times those fish will hang off on these bluffier areas and you can catch them. When the bite gets tough, you have to learn how to do this kind of fishing. It's just a must, you know, just so you can get bit. There's another one. There we go. Get off on that little. And they seem to be a 10-bit bigger out here on this bluff wall. Come on, buddy. Hey, they might be eating off this wall. Little drop shot bass. Come on, son. Oh, and you swallowed it, didn't you? You like that Punisher color, that purple Punisher. Ah, there we go. And there we have a fish. Now that's when you know they're eating good. Toss it down there and they get it like that. Yeah, he's eating good. Now I gotta pull out my specialty little tool here to get this fish out. That Arizona custom bait worm that I like to throw, that Punisher color, has a little bit of green in it. And with that little bit of green, gives it that little bit of a bluegill type imitation. There we go, got him out. I love that tool right there. You can pick that up at Bass Pro Shops. It gets right in there. You don't have to hurt the fish. Look at that. A little bit better Bartlett Lake bass right there. You know, we went for quite a little while and didn't get bit. And I threw into pockets, threw back in, you know, where everything was with that buzz bait. Even picked up a chatterbait a little bit, hoping maybe I could catch some on that. But the reality is, the bite's not all that good right now. I'm seeing a lot of people struggle right now. And so what we'll do is back off, throw a little deeper, try to get down there. Fish might not be quite as aggressive, but they might be on crawdad. Who knows? We're gonna go along here. That's 2 casts and 2 fish, just so you know, in the first spot we pulled up here. So that really makes a difference. Here's the worm we're throwing. It's an Arizona custom baits. I like that little tail action, especially when you're in a little bit dingier water. Gives for a little vibration. But what else I like about this worm is watch when I flip it over, it's got the green tint to it. That green tint, kind of like a, you know, a bluegill or something like that, the tail of a bluegill. but it's just a great color all around. Got him. Got him. There we go. Hanging off them rocks. Hanging off them rocks. Oh, looky there. All right. Now we're getting somewhere, see? Finding out that they're hanging on some of these rocks. Some of these bigger fish are too in this lake. That'd be a keeper. Boy, look how skinny they are. They're running all over the place looking for them shad. Oh my goodness. He got tired of running. He says, I'll just eat a worm. You know, I get asked all the time, what line do I use when I'm actually drop shotting? And it's, I've done very well. You know, here in Arizona, we find ourselves having a drop shot kind of deep, you know. And if we were fishing 5 foot of water or something like that, you could probably get away with just a fluorocarbon line, you know, a 6 or 8 pound test fluorocarbon line. But I really do like this, you know, 15 or 20 pound, I use a 20 pound smackdown line. And what this is a braid line, and I love it. It's like thread. It works really good. I used to use the 15, get a lot of wind knots in it. So I went up and I went to the 20. Still works great. And I just tie on a long leader. Right now I'm using an 8 pound. A lot of times I'll throw 6 if I'm in big open water, things like that, clear, ultra clear water. If I can get away with 8, I'm gonna go with 8. I normally don't go over 8 when I'm doing this kind of fishing. If I'm gonna drop shot in some trees or something like that with a bait caster, then you can go with heavier line, things like that. But I like the worm to act as natural as possible. Now you can see I started off here. Probably got a 8-inch leader, something like that, because I want it on the bottom down there if they're eating crawdad. A lot of times I'll move it up a little bit higher, the leader a little bit higher. If I'm wanting to sit there and let the bait fall a little bit and pick it back up, if they're kind of eating the shad or, you know, it just depends. You got to play with the leader line there, and you can figure out what works best for you. But I normally start anywhere from 8 to 10 inches, maybe 12 inches on the leader. So that allows you for a lot, you know. I've seen guys that have a 3-inch leader, but I like it. That's about as short as I'll go, and then I'll retire a lot of times. I like it around, you know, between that 6 to 12-inch range. And then, like I said, if it's real slow and I need to really sit there and soak it and all that other stuff, I might put it on a little bit longer and just kind of let it drop really nice and easy. Always keep the weight on the bottom. Now, in saying that, I've teamed that up with, of course, this is the new Diamondback Taipan Johnny Johnson Series drop shot rod. And it is awesome. I love it, and it works great. And it's worked real good for me. And of course, the Platinum Series spinning reel from Bass Pro Shops has been my teamed up here rig for what we're throwing. You know, another reason why I like the braided line too is when you're fishing a little bit deeper, you don't get near the line twist. And that's huge when you're drop shotting all day. And I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than having your line kinking up and everything around your reel when you go to cast, and you know, it's all twisted up. And a lot of times if you're throwing straight fluorocarbon or a monofilament, you're gonna have that problem throwing the drop shot rig, because as you're reeling in, a lot of times it's twisting. There's no way to get around that. I don't care how great the swivel is on the drop shot weight or anything. You know, when you're reeling in, you're twisting your line. So in saying that, the braid really keeps that from happening, and you don't have all this, because it can handle that twist. You start twisting this line up, it starts kinking and curling, and it comes off your reel crazy, and it just makes for a nightmare of a day. So learn how to tie. And like I said, I tie the Alberto knot for my fluorocarbon to my braid. It's called the Alberto knot. You can find it on YouTube. It's a real small knot. It's very important to learn how to tie it. I've gotten where I can tie it pretty fast. You're gonna tie it slow at first, and it's gonna be aggravating. But once you get it down, you're gonna be so glad you did. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to rig the worm. I'm using this particular bait. It works good for me, like I said, from Arizona Custom Baits. Throw it in there. I love my new Nitro Z21. Look at all the storage room we got in here. You know, I still got to load everything up. I buy these hooks by the hundreds. So I've got plenty of hooks, and I do the same with my drop shot weights too. But here's the deal. Put the worm just to the bend of the hook. I don't expose this hook, and I'm going to explain why. I'm basically weedless, making it weedless. I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to turn the hook around. Okay. There we go. I'm going to pull the hook out through the plastic, then I'm going to bury it a little bit. It's real soft plastic, so the hook comes through the plastic really good, and that's what it should look like there. Okay, now here's the reason why I like to use weedless, because I like to throw my drop shot in the rocks. I like to throw it in the stuff, you know, and I find with an exposed hook all the time that it tends to get hooked up all the time and you're constantly breaking off. And I just like it this way. It's the way I've always fished it. Now I do throw exposed hooks, things like that, the little tiny ones when I'm wacky rigging, say a straight tail worm, but for this is the way I like it. Just throw it out there, let it fall. When you have a lot of jagged rocks down there, boulders, and your worm's actually falling behind the rock, if you had an exposed hook when you go to pull it, a lot of times you'll get hooked up. So that's why I like to keep it kind of weedless. Got him. Oh, he ain't that big. Boy, he came out of way down there. 30 foot of water, that little guy. Oh my goodness. Come on, you're done. 30 foot. I'll tell you what. Well, we managed to catch a couple fish. We figured it out that we can definitely go to our drop shots when it gets tough, obviously. Get out in the deeper water, get off on the bluffs, grab some Arizona custom baits, which now they put scent in these things. And so they work really good. That was the Punisher, the Purple Punisher, I think it is called. And I had a lot of blast with it. And you'll, trust me, you'll catch a lot of fish. I catch a lot of fish at Roosevelt. I have clients, we go through hundreds of these bags of this color. It's just a great color. But yeah, we've had a great time out here. Bartlett Lake never disappoints as far as catching fish, a few fish here and there. You hope to catch the big ones. We caught a few decent ones, but I'll tell you what, we figured out we could catch a few on top water. And really, if we were able to stay, the afternoon bite will start kicking in. I'm just now starting to see them bust every once in a while after some shad, and those are the littler guys coming up. But trust me, later on this afternoon, the bigger ones will start moving up. You'll be able to catch them. And I really think the last 2 hours before dark is going to be phenomenal this time of year. But early in the morning, we still got out and caught some, and I had a blast today. Thanks for joining us on the show. Hey, we'll catch you next week. I'm Johnny Johnson.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking about, folks.